All right. Thanks for being here. Writer Simon Yeats. Where,
Yeah.
or let's see, how do you collect ideas and information for your writing?
Mate, I'd taken the easy route out. I'm not the most creative person in the world, so I just decided that I would write memoirs. So then all I just had to do was look at pictures and photos and remember. I've got quite an amazing memory, according to most people. Though I remember things that no one else seems to recall about events that happened 40, 45 years ago. Um, and I always gave that thought because this is my life. If I'm not remembering it, who the hell else is? So I have a pretty keen memory for a lot of things that have gone on in my life, and so I've had a couple of moments where I've been fighting some depression battles, and so I decided, okay, I'll sit down and write the stories, some memoir books of my life, just to sort of be able to make an evaluation. Have I had a good life? Have I had a unique life? Have I had a special life? Where do I fit on the spectrum? And as I got into it, I thought, yeah, wow, uh, I've had a pretty amazing life. Not trying to be too full of myself, and so it's been a great process to learn how to write and express myself. I've gone through various versions, of writing. The mood, the mood you're in life can really dictate how the writing comes out. And sadly, I think I was absolutely my funniest when I was in a really pissed off mood. But so once I got out of that mood, I've still managed to keep some of the humor intact, but I had to sort of change the tone of my feelings with regard to some of my stories. But that's pretty much uh, how my stories evolved. Just remembering funny, scary, unique, crazy, insane things that have happened to me during my life and travels, and putting them down on paper.
Were they funny because of like or because you're writing them in an agitated mood? Were they more of a bitingly funny, or why do you think that you were more humorous when you were aggravated?
Because a lot of my humor is very self-directed at me. I take the piss out of myself quite a lot. So the angrier I get, the more I make fun of myself. The angrier I get at myself for being in a situation where I'm, you know, likely to die of dehydration because I've got diarrhea and I'm out in whitewater rafting in the back country of Nepal, and I'm like thinking, why the hell did I drink that cup of tea that someone scooped out of the river that um, dead animals and everyone else's shit is floating along? Why would I drink a cup of tea that was made with water like that? So I've got no one else to blame. My father raised me to go, no one, you've got no one else to blame but yourself for your problems in life. So when I'm angry, I take the shots at myself are even bigger. And most people most of my friends who started off reading my stuff like thought that was the funniest, and that's what I'm most known for. But then when I put it into books, self-effacing humor doesn't fly with uh, some people. I've sort of learned taking the piss out of yourself, as we say in Australia. Some people don't understand it, so it's still a lot of humor is like that in the books, but it's just not quite as abrupt as it was, 10 years ago.
So more of a self-reflecting condescension than outward
Yes, yes,
to
yes,
other.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
With the writing, then, have you written things before you started writing memoirs, or did you journal, or have you any other types of stuff you had thought about writing, or maybe published or didn't publish?
And my writing journey was pretty much when I went to boarding school at a young age, my mum would write me a letter every week. My older brother would write me a letter every week, and I was mandated at school that I had to write a letter a week. And you had to write a rough copy, show it to the teacher, and then go and write the final draft. And I managed to skate by for 8 years on the same rough draft, and I only actually wrote 3 letters. In 8 years of boarding school. So writing wasn't something that sort of came naturally. And then when I left home and moved to America when I was 23, I'm in a new country, I don't know anyone, and just just to keep in contact with my friends and my family back home, I just sort of like, okay, let me write a letter. People don't write letters anymore. I don't know if people ever did write letters. But I watched my mum write. My mum wrote letters to her family in New Zealand, like three brothers or two brothers, one sister, grandma and granddad. She'd write a letter to them all every week. Um, so I would see her do that and sort of go, oh, "That's not for me." But then I sort of thought, "Wow, I'm lonely. Let me just write down a story of my day or my week to my friends and my family." And these would be like 10 pages long. And I would photocopy them and then send them out to 20 different people. And my friends loved getting those. Uh, and then when email came along, I would do the same thing with email. Just write a week long journal summary of my week, especially if some egregious stuff had gone on that sort of either upset me or ticked me off. And then when I traveled as well, I was always traveling by myself because I'm the type of person that just gets jack of work, and then I say, right, I quit. I'm going to go travel for 6 months. Come back, get another job, pick up where I left off. And so there's not many people that have the luxury of ever doing that in their life. And so I would just write emails when I got back to the hotel. And again, same thing. In half an hour, I could rattle off, a couple of hundred words that just describe the joys I had of that day of running into the German mafia and thinking I was going to get my head blown off. That again was just taking shots at myself for being so dumb. But then at the same time going, you know what, I love life, so you can look back on the stuff that was sort of weird and go, you got to laugh about it. You know, Otherwise, what's the point of anyone being here?
Yeah. Were you able to use those emails when you were putting your books together, or did you just think about the situation anew?
Mate, I sent out an email to everyone who the block emails said, did anyone keep my emails over the years? And I had one guy said, yep, I've got all 147 of them. And I'm like, great, could you send them to me? So yeah, they're pretty sketchy on, if I'm in India or if I'm in Belgium, I just like say I'm in Belgium. That would be pretty much it. And I wouldn't explain anymore. Besides, like, I had to then, and that's part of the joy of writing. You fill out more, and every time you go back and reread it, you fill out a little bit more, and then you just keep on adding on layers. Um, Sorry about that. You keep on adding on layers to the story, and I sort of write very much stream of consciousness. Um, I just start writing and just sort of see where I end up, and somehow it just the stories always seem to work out.
How much did you notice a change in the way you collected information after you wrote the first book? Were you writing all of them based on memories of things in the past, or some of the books that happened after the first, were you still traveling and then writing about those new things so you had a new way to catalog it?
Well, what I did is when I wrote the first one, I had I say I'd written a version of these stories before, and so I had when I came to write the first three books, I said, okay, I've probably got enough stories for three books that I've always sort of written and in another sort of form before. Um, Let me take all the stories about me traveling or living in Asia, New Zealand, Australia, Japan, Hawaii, Thailand. Let me put all those stories into one book. Then all the stories of things that have occurred to me living or traveling in America, North America, South America. Let me put all those into one book, and then I've got all the stuff from Europe. And it's one of those books. I can't even remember which one. There's a couple of stories from my trips to Africa that I sort of like. Hey, I haven't been to Africa enough to be able to write a whole book about Africa. And then the fourth book, I sort of realized, well, I've still got a couple of stories, and I enjoy it so much. I thought, okay, yeah, a couple of new things have happened as I've gotten older. A lot of the stories are back when I was 20, 25, 30. But then still a lot of fun stuff happens to me even now in my 50s. And so I was like, okay, I can add stories of just in the last year of a couple of trips I've gone, or just sort of what it's like still living overseas, and the trials and tribulations of being able to bored out of your mind one weekend and let me go swim in a lake with some alligators. There you go. There's something to tick off my bucket list. Let's go. You know, that just keeps my brain active. So hopefully I don't end up with dementia. By the time I hit 100.
Hmm. That's like a kind of like the lower tech version of content creation where you're like, I need some stuff for a book. So I'm going to go do these things so I can have this information for the book instead of like the day in the life of a content creator on like a TikTok or something where they think, okay, what am I going to post today? Let me go stand by this Lamborghini and take a picture eating a plate of spaghetti, you know?
Yeah, yeah. The none of the stories are I've gone out. I mean, let's say most of the things that have gone on, 99% of them have already happened in the past before content
Okay.
creation and whatever came along. So they're also like, it's not like I was out there, uh, you know, trying to be scared out of my wits and bungee jumping off of the second highest bungee jump in South Africa because I wanted to write a story and create content and had a video about it. I was like, got duped into doing it by my mate who I thought was going to do it, and then he turns out he wasn't doing it all. So suddenly I'm like, there's me and three other guys out of a group of 30s who have signed up for the bungee jump, and I'm terrified of heights. I'm like, okay, well I'm out. I can't do this. No, you signed up for it. You can't back out. You're in. So I've got like, oh, okay, I've got to stick true to my word. So I've got out to the bungee jump and done it, and then years later, I'd say that stuff burns in your brain. Exactly every knee tremor, every excuse my French, I don't know, every fuck you assholes, why are you making me do this? You remember everything that goes on pretty clearly. And then, as I said, then going back later and then saying, right, let me, where was I? Where was that in relation to, oh, it's on the garden route in South Africa. What is the garden route? Oh, it's this drive from two towns down to Cape Town. It's a beautiful area. What's the geography of the country like? What's it like? What's the history of I mean, there's a thing biltong in South Africa. I didn't even know what it was when I was there, but I had to look up what it was. It's a sort of like dried animal meat that everyone eats instead of eating candy in South Africa. And so I was like, okay,
Hmm.
well, that's now I can describe what biltong is, so all the readers can understand because they're probably like me; they have no idea what it is. So that's sort of the after the fact. I went back and sort of filled in all the stuff that I didn't know at the time, and just sort of would naively sit there saying, "Wow, I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea why this statue is here." So then I can go back and look up later that someone's tied me to naked. Like, why was there a statue that someone could tie me to naked? Okay, I better go find out the history of the statue. So none of it was like to go out there and try to have something happen so I could write about these things all happened. And then later on, I went, okay, let me just write it, write my feelings and the fun of it happening to me and how I can look back and say, you know what, I was dumb and stupid, but you know what, I'd rather go through life dumb and stupid than to get to the end of my life and have regrets that I didn't do anything in my entire life.
Hmm. How much time did you set aside, or how did you set aside the time to write the book, starting with the first one? Like, where would you do it? Did you write for topic? Did you set a date that you wanted to be done by? How'd you keep yourself going on the writing?
Mate, I am very pragmatic about my approach to writing. The moment my girlfriend gets shitted off that I'm spending too much time on my computer and writing and not paying attention to her, I stop my writing process and I go and make sure that she feels well attended to. And then at some point, I wake up in the morning and like, you know what? Oh, she's still asleep. Let me sit down at the computer. And then next thing you know, I'm right back into the compulsion of writing every day. But no, the books took each book that I've done so far took about a month to write from start to finish. With maybe out of 80,000 words, maybe 40,000 words would already have been um, collected or written from previous stories or the skeletons of stories from the emails that I had, and then. As I said, I just enjoy sometimes just reading over the same story again, and then you sit there and say, "Yeah, you know what? Wow, this actually links back to the story in the first book when I was, you know, uh, uh, in the same sort of situation." So you can sort of make a joke tying those two things together, and then it sort of just keeps on expanding and filling out, and that's what I sort of love. It's sort of like you know. Uh, the final story of my fourth book is me showing up for Kiwi mates that I had in Los Angeles on my rugby team, um, and it was sort of like the perfect story to put at the end of the book, even though the books are chronological. I held that back to sit there and say, okay, this isn't the last thing that happened to me, but it's just a nice fitting way to end to all the crap I was given by my New Zealand friends in Los Angeles over the years. It was a nice way of round out I finally got one over them at the end, and my gotcha moment was 10 times bigger than theirs, and so I can sort of rest on my laurels and say, you know what, case closed, I win. you know. Um, you know, that's just um, you know a nice way of closing off. And I didn't think I'd write another book of that, and then I thought, you know what, damn, still got some fun things going on. I was just in Portugal a couple of months ago, and as I say, I'm scared of heights, and we were on an island off the coast of Morocco, and this island was a friggin' steep island of hell that every road was just a switchback to get from every single place. And I had, before we went, I'd rented a car, a manual car. In the time it took for us to get picked up from the airport to get to the car rental place, I am in the back. They better have a friggin' automatic, because I don't care how much it's going to cost me to upgrade. There's no friggin' way I'm driving on this island in a manual. We get to the car rental place. They've got 270 cars in their fleet. 10 are automatic, and they offer it to the German couple who are in front of me. Would you like an automatic to upgrade to an automatic? And the German guy's like, oh, no, 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 no. And I'm like, thank God. Thank God. So I'm like, yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it. If anyone else comes to the room, I'll whatever it costs, I'll take it. Would you like insurance? You bet I'll take insurance. This place is so steep. If I'm guaranteed I'm going to drive off the edge of a cliff sometime, full insurance, whatever you got, okay, that's extra $500. I don't care. I'm the cheapest guy alive. I don't care. I'll pay whatever. There's no way I'm going to drive around this island. Sure enough, within an hour, I've backed into a wall, smashed the back of the car, and I've just gone, great. I've got full insurance. Not my problem. Let me enjoy the week of being on this island. I say it's just a normal run of the mill travel story, but when you sort of just have the luck. I mean, I haven't bought car insurance. I bought car insurance for the first car I ever rented in my life, and the last car, which was this car in Portugal. Never bought car insurance in my life. And the only two times I've needed it, first car I ever rented got stolen. Last one backed into a wall. So just the travel gods just look after me a little bit.
Yeah, maybe I wonder if you hadn't have got the insurance, would you have backed into the wall? There's the
100%.
question.
100%.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think there's
I
some more philosophical question.
there is, but as I say, I was freaking out being on literally you're driving up a road and you're like, yeah, this road there's nothing on this side and there's no way to turn around, and I need to turn, but there's no way to turn around. Like I'm not gonna, there's thankfully you get to someone has a house that's built out over the side of the cliff with a sort of, and I'm like, oh, thank God, and you're sort of still so scared that you're sort of not paying attention. And even though the alarms are going off, beep, 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 you're going to hit a wall, you're still like so nervous that you still, you don't stop in time and just sort of like crunch. And, given the situation of what it was in, I don't think that not having insurance, I would have been any less careful. I was on the end of my tether.
Okay. I feel like on a steep island that if you were ever going to not get insurance, that's the place, because you're probably not going to live to worry about it if you drive off the edge.
That's true, and I have a couple of stories of driving in a car that the first car I ever bought with a group of guys when I went to Steamboat when I was a 20-year-old, and cost us $400. And this thing would not drive in a straight line. It would always just pull over randomly at some point to the right. And when you're on snowy roads and you've never driven on ice and snow before, and we went down to Denver to watch a NFL game, and we had to go down switchbacks down thing, and you would be driving around switchbacks, and this car would suddenly just turn to the right, and me and my mate felt sure that we were just going to drive off the edge of the cliff at some point because we couldn't stop it. And I can tell you, don't cry that much. I don't hug men that often, but he and I had a good cry and a good hug when we got to the bottom of the pass. And we're still best mates. 35 years later, didn't know each other from Adam before that, and we're still best mates.
When you're talking about a book that's 80,000 words, is that what you were trying to keep all of them around the same length, or?
Yeah. That was sort of like the only, I literally sort of, okay, I'm getting to 70. How many stories do I? Oh, I've still got 4 stories to write. You know what? Maybe I only need 1 or 2 stories out of what I have. And so I'll as I say, when I wrote the fourth book, that was stories that were sort of left over from the first 3 that maybe I just couldn't fit in. But it's 80,000. I mean, I could write 200,000 words. I mean, I could just keep on writing. I get very, like the same way I talk, I just ramble on and on and on and keep on just trying to at some point you've got to circle back to where you were at the start. And it's much easier for me. I write, anyone who's thinking this guy is a terrible talker, yeah, I write much better than I talk because I can actually stop and think and re-edit my writing. I can't do that with my talking. And ever since I was a young kid, I just speak at a million miles an hour, ramble on and on. Sometimes I completely forget what the question was that you asked me, and I'm sort of like, oh, what was the question again? That's just how I've always been.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best things of writing is it if it's not teaching you how to think, it's organizing your thoughts. So I think that even if you don't look at it as teaching you, it is helping you in how to think.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
and,
the
I, and I'm
classic.
very disciplined in a lot of things in life, and so I like the element of discipline of getting up and write for an hour every day, or you say your book's got to be 80,000, and you don't want to have your stories be, I've learned, you don't want to have a story that's 20 pages long. People lose interest, and I'm not that good of a writer. I think that I can write 20 pages and have someone on the edge of their seat the whole time. So I think, okay, let me practice on getting my concise stories down to uh, you know, 5 pages, 10 pages, something these here's another caveat back to your. I'm not sure if that's the right word to use. Back to about the writing. So a couple of years ago, I fell in love with the girl who ended up being my second wife, and she broke up with me. And I sat down one weekend and I wrote her this heartfelt letter that was probably 5 pages long. Gushed everything out. Um, and I thought 5 pages. She's never going to read 5 pages of whatever. So I need to get this down to it. So I edited it, read back, wrote, got it down to 4 pages. No, 4 pages is still too much. Got it down to 3 pages. And this is before I ever wrote my first book. And I finally got 5 pages of heartfelt, you know, you whatever blithering on I did about how she'd broken my heart and how I wanted her in my life and how I loved her kids and everything. I got that down to 1 page, and I was like, "Yep." And I couldn't sleep. I was just editing in my head the whole time. I thought, if I can get 5 pages of everything I wanted to say and still have it in 1 page and go, "Yep, that was perfect," then I could write a book.
Okay. When you're
And I did win her
editing.
back, and she became my second wife.
Oh, okay. All right. I, I wonder if you could edit it down enough to where I thought your story was going to go from 5 pages to please don't go. I'll see you tonight. Pick up some milk on the way home. Something like that.
Yeah. This is. Trust me, I was pretty much in the deep shit at that stage. I was
Mm.
like, I was fighting for my life. So, she had pretty much. Obviously, we were just dating, and she had pretty much cut me off. All social media, everything was like deleted. So my only chance was to buy this amazing flower arrangement that I'd seen and whatever, and that was just the enough to get her to open the envelope to read the letter. The flower arrangement was just to get her to go, okay, let me bother to read what this idiot has written me. And then, like I said, if I went longer than a page, she would have been bored. So I had to get it down to all under a page, and it worked.
How do you handle the editing of your books?
I uh, give that to the whole reason I was in this friggin' island from hell off Portugal is because that's where my editor uh, lives, and her husband is a quadriplegic, and I work with him. That's how I found out that she's an editor. That's my day job, and so she said, "Hey, I found out. Wow, you're on this amazing tropical island in Europe that I've never heard of. Be a great place to come do a holiday, and I'll stop in and see your husband and see what I can do with him. Uh, uh, in an hour or so, a couple of hours, and worked out very well. Guy hadn't been out of his house for 2 years. By the time I'd finished working with him, we took him out for lunch, and 2 weeks later, his wife was able to get him into the car, get him onto a plane. They went on a holiday, and their life is now 100-fold better than what it was.
Nice. Did you have like ideal reader group or anything like that you sent your manuscripts or drafts to before you completed the book, or is it just the one editor and then that's it?
The My girlfriend, has been subjected to having to uh, read my books, and it's yeah, I because they're memoirs. A lot of people like to read fantasy. A lot like to read escapism. A lot of like stuff that's probably more uh, uh, unusual or than their their regular uh, life, or take them out of the doldrums of their regular life. And unfortunately, my life hasn't been a doldrum in the doldrums. It's my experiences with spinal cord are inspirational and motivational. My travels around the world, there would be no one who would have had two interactions with the mafia in Europe and escape with their life, or rather, not even somebody that escaped with their life. In one episode, I ended up dancing on the dance floor with them, and the other one, we were locked out of a restaurant in Romania because the mafia were having a lunch, and I was on a pair of crutches, and I was like, "There's no effing way I'm taking another step walking around this god-forgotten town on a pair of crutches. Get me a table. I'm coming in to eat here." And the mafia were like, "Shit, just let him go," you know. Uh, uh, so, I've had some experiences that most people sit and go, "This has got to be uh, 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 what's the word? Fiction." There's these stories of what's happened to me. Incredible. But that to me is like that's the fun of life. If you're not out there, there's an old saying: if you're not out there, you know, overcoming your fear and taking risks, then you don't have any stories to write.
How do you decide on which places to go travel, or how did you?
Um, when I was 28, I was killed in a car accident in Los Angeles and had to have my heart restarted. And so 3 times the first night in ICU, I was literally was had to be coded. Um, and so my first big sort of after living in the States, my first sort of big sort of uh, then trip was to go, okay, I'm going to take 6 months off and travel around the world. And went to Europe, went to India, went to Nepal, Bangkok, Tahiti, spent some time back in Australia and surprised mum for her 60th birthday. Um, and one of my best mates in Los Angeles is a travel agent. And, sort of a lot of my travels are very much him going, "Mate, I've got a deal on a flight from here to so and so. Are you in?" I'm like, "Yeah, okay, yep, buy it for me." How long do I have to you know, can I go for? It's going to be like 2-3 weeks. I'm gonna have to quit my job. Okay, yeah, let's do it. And just go. Life is too short. Living in Los Angeles. Uh, I had my car accident, went back to Australia, found out one of my mates from high school was living in Japan. So, right, great. Got back to Los Angeles. I've got a mate who's living in Japan. I've got a couch to sleep on. Let me get the cheapest flight I can to uh, Japan. Flying back from Japan, I'm got hideously drunk because I had an emotional thing about, wow, I could have been a year ago I was dead, and I've just been to Japan. And I look out the window as we're flying over California, and we are right over the top of Yosemite, and I could see Yosemite from 30,000 feet, and I was like, oh my god, I want to go to Yosemite. So next weekend I'm in my car driving up, booked a place to stay, went and hiked up Half Dome, back down. It sometimes you just fall over. Uh, Stuff just to say, the trip to Madeira to go and see my friend. I didn't know where they lived. Nowadays it's a case of me saying, "Oh, where do you guys live? We live in Madeira." Okay, that's good. And my phone listens into me. And next time I go on Instagram, there are all these pictures of, "Oh my God, where's this place? This is incredible. Oh my God, it's an island called Madeira. That's where my patient is. Shit, let's go on a trip there." That's as much thought as I put into anything in my life, mate.
Nice. Do you find in your books that you have like a theme that goes through all your stories, or is it like an underlying theme that you either recognized or didn't,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that you tried to lean into?
Yeah. And I sort of wish that, yeah, I'd sort of had this as an underlying theme and idea um, uh, before I wrote them. And I've got another book about an ongoing tragedy in my life. That again, the same thing. I didn't know that theme was there, but someone pointed out to me. The theme of that book is is fatherhood and what it means to be a father to a child, and how important that is. With the other travel books, the themes are there's nothing more important in your life than having great friends. Um, that is you don't have to travel anywhere, but if you've got great friends, you're still having a great life. If you get to travel with great friends or to meet great friends, you're doing even better. That's what I pride myself. I'm a bit of a shy guy, or not even so much I'm shy. I'm very uh, don't have a high opinion of myself. I sort of like always thought, yeah, I'm the ugly duckling. I'm not good at athletics. I'm not particularly attractive, but I so it takes effort for me to go out and to be sociable, because I think, yeah, I'm not that, obviously not that good at talking either, but I can overcome my fear to go out and say, you know what, this person who's a complete stranger could be in 20 years could be a, a great friend. Quickly caveat into another quick story about that. So 30th birthday, I'm in Europe for the trip. I'm standing at the train station in Barcelona with my two friends who came over from England to travel around with me in Portugal, and there was some girl standing on the station, looked very cute, and I'm like, okay. Walked over and was like trying my best Spanish on her, and she just looks at me and goes, "Your Spanish is fucking terrible." And I'm like, "Oh my god, you're American." She goes, "Yeah, yeah." And I said, "Mate, well, we've got a bottle of wine. You want to come and sit in our cabin with us for the train ride to Madrid? It's going to take all night." She goes, "Yep, yep, that'd be lovely." Get to our cabin. It's filled with gypsies who wouldn't leave. And so that's one of the stories in my book about the whole getting the gypsies out of our cabin. And Nicole sat down with my friends, some other girls in the cabin. We all had a great night. She went to her cabin and slept. I said, "Hey, our plan when we get to Madrid is apparently our hostel locks the doors at 10 o'clock and you're not allowed back until 7. So we've got to do an all-nighter. That's our plan for our first night in Madrid. You in? Sure, I'm in. That sounds like fun." She's going to Madrid to catch up with her parents. Gave me that hotel of her parents, meet up with her at 10, go back to have a meal, have a drink, and we go out all night till 6 in the morning, drop her back at her hotel, go and get into the hostel with me and my friends. This year, me and my girlfriend drove up to Daytona to catch up with her. I've been in Spain. She still lives in Spain. My last trip to Spain, she said, "Hey, meet me in downtown Spain, in Madrid. Let's go and recreate some of the places that we went to and saw on that night we had, you know, uh, 30, 27 years ago." It's like, sure. And I've got a nice picture of us standing in this plaza in Madrid, again with all the skin on my face peeled off from an incident that occurred to me getting drunk in a pub in England 2 days before. Like I say, there's just so much shit that goes on in my life that it's just story after story. But the stories that I love are the things that tie like that was like, and she just looked at me, and I knew this girl from one night in Madrid, and this is the first time we'd caught up in 27 years, and she saw me and she goes, "Yep, I've read all your emails. Yeah, this just didn't bat an eyelid. Yeah, this is just you to a T." And that's why I thought, wow, just some complete stranger just is still got such an air of, it's been great having you in my life. Like our friendship that we've sort of had, she sent me postcards. We've stayed in contact when I've been having a rough time. She's been there for me. It's what makes the world go around. And there have been times where I've been had amazing coincidences. I've been in another country and I've run into someone who's a friend of a mate that I've known from back home in Australia completely. And you sit there and go, wow, screw this 7 steps of separation. There's probably only 2 or 3 if you actually get out there and bother to look around. And that's what no one realizes. And that's what I say. That's why I love writing about travel. The yeah. Am I boring you, mate?
No,
Okay,
I'm
so I'll
listening.
give you another quick story. Another quick story. So this is what I do all the time. Just golf on tangent. So my brother goes to Antarctica to get engaged. Okay, and so they're on the cruise from Argentina down to Antarctica, and they get onto the little rubber ducky to get to land when they get to Antarctica. He's there with his girlfriend he's going to propose to, and there are 2 other big burly photographers on the rubber ducky to go and take pictures of penguins and other things for whatever. So they get to shore. The sea's really rough, and 2 photographers jump off, grab the gear, run off to take the photography, and the guy who's from the ship can barely hold on to the boat. So my brother holds on. They're fighting to keep the boat steady. my sister-in-law isn't strong enough to really help much. I think the guy who's from the boat breaks his arm if things are so bad. The two photographers who are massive, big burly guys don't give a shit. They've just gone off to do their own crap. And so my brother's telling me the story, after he's come back saying, yeah, describe them. Yeah, one of them looked like he was sort of like King Leonidas from Sparta, from Sparta, the big long beard and hair. And he showed me a couple of pictures of their Antarctica trip, and there was one iceberg that had this amazingly unique formation at the base of the iceberg. And I was like, wow, that was incredible. 2 years later, I'm walking through a Sunday mall somewhere, a Sunday shopping. What are they called? Bazaar or a thing that people have on Sunday. Everyone has their market up, and I always like photography because when I travel, I've gone over to a photographer store and I'm flicking through, the pictures, and there's one of this iceberg with exactly the same unique shape in the back, and I looked it up and looked up, face up, and there's this guy that was a dead ringer for King Leonidas standing right in front of me, and the guy goes, yeah, I took that photo in Antarctica. It was a hell of a day, let me tell you. And I'll say, yeah, mate, I know exactly what happened. My brother was there, and the guy's face just went, oh, and that's one of the other themes about in the book that's reminded me. It doesn't matter where you go, okay? Always be on your best behavior, because you never know that who is going to find out what you did if you're a bit of a dick. Okay, the world's a very, very small place. It's a very, very small place. I've had stuff happen to me that I thought no one would know, and I get back home and my mum's like, "Oh, so I heard you up for that you were that you apparently killed someone in Hawaii, at a rugby trip." I'm like, "Hey, Mum, how the hell did you find out that story?" You're like, "I've got eyes and ears everywhere." You never, no matter where you are in the world, you're never that far away from someone who knows someone who knows someone whose mother works at the same beauty store that had a cousin who happened to be right where you were at the same time. So that's a strong underlying thing. The world's a very small place. Coincidences are all around. The more you travel, the more you will realize that.
We'll just brush over the homicide in Hawaii and go with, when you're traveling, do you check a bag, or are you just a one bag, or do you not take a bag at all?
I'm now at the backpack stage, and I am so proud that I took my girlfriend to Europe for the Rugby World Cup, and then we did a side trip up to and I made her survive on a backpack as well, because there was no way I was paying for the luggage fee, and she survived, and she did bloody well. And then we went to bloody Madeira. She had the same size backpack, and she still got charged with $85 for the fee, because they said it was just too big to fit into the thing. And the titles of my books, I didn't watch on that. So let me quickly run over that. So this is the title of the first book: How to Start a Riot in a Brothel in Thailand by Ordering a Beer, and Other Less Known Travel Tips. So the other less known travel tips is the common theme of all the travel books. And so the tip is that if you have a backpack and they think that it can't fit in the thing, turn it upside down, because they're built in such a way that one end is sort of thicker than the end. If you turn it upside down and stick it in that way, it'll go in 100% of the time. But if you let the fat pit be too filled with stuff, it won't fit in. And we found that out after the $85 got taken out of my bank account.
When we recently traveled to South America, we had a couple flights in there that didn't allow bags over 15 kilograms, so 20 pounds or so. And we did our 14-day trip with 2 backpacks less than 15 kilograms each. So that was pretty good to have.
Yeah.
Then you don't have to worry about lines or anything like that.
Oh, after you've done it, you almost sit there and go, I can't believe I ever, and I go away for trips. I've gone away for trips. What was that trip? That trip was 3 weeks. Yeah, 3 weeks, and I had a backpack. Europe, and then back to Australia for a couple of weeks. And my nieces were like, I can't believe that's all you took. I'm like, I don't need anything more. You just need a pair of clothes to be in while you're washing the clothes that you're wearing most of the time, and you're good to go. I've lived in Rio de Janeiro for a year. Every single person that came and stayed in the apartment that I rented out, everyone got robbed. And
Mm.
I'm like everyone's like, why are you bringing your Rolex watch? Why are you bringing your diamond necklace? Why? You're like, why? Like, oh, because I'm like, no, you don't need that shit when you're traveling. You don't need it. Just all you need is clean underwear, clean socks, and a toothbrush, But it's amazing what people did. I am absolutely bare bones, and I get more bare bones every year that I travel, because I should realize, oh my god, I still took one T-shirt that I didn't wear. What was the point?
Yeah.
I hate that. I tell my girlfriend I can survive on 3 pairs of undies, and she gets horrified. So I put in five, but that's more to satisfy her rather than to because of necessity.
Yeah. My rule of it is pack half of what you think you need and then half that after you
Yep,
get it all
yep,
packed in. And I still
yep,
have stuff that I didn't use. So, and also you're trying to blend in as much as possible. And usually that just means look like you don't have anything. So
yeah,
the
yeah.
best way to
That,
look like
that,
you don't have anything is to not have anything.
that's how I survived in Rio for a year without ever getting. Well, I nearly got mugged once, and that's the title of the second book, How to Avoid Getting Mugged in Rio de Janeiro by Singing Songs by the Police and Other Less Known Travel Tips. But I
Hmm.
got out of that, but I spent a year living there looking like I was as homeless as the homeless people, and no one touched me. No
Yeah.
one, if you've got nothing to steal, no one's going to bother you, because it's not worth the effort.
Yeah. And now with the types of clothing you can get that is like the technical clothing where it's warm but it's light and you probably don't need to wash it as much as you have to wash a pair of jeans or something. And even then, how often do you have to wash those? And
Yeah,
yeah, you can really pack light. I'd like to do it to where I didn't even take a bag, but I haven't gotten to that point yet.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, like I say, I've gone on weekend trips where I've like shoved my undies into the pockets of my jeans and just gone, yeah, I don't need a bag. Um, you know, uh, it's the less I carry, the less I've got, the better. I'm like rather annoyed that I actually have to carry a cell phone around with me, a cell phone in a wallet. I'm like going, oh my god, I'm burdened by too much stuff with those two things.
Yeah. I mean, nice stuff to have because those are the two things. If you had that, you could probably handle it anywhere. But yeah, I understand. With traveling, do you do a lot of pictures then? And then that helps
Yeah,
you
yeah,
remember, or are you taking notes when
yeah.
you travel, or how's that
No,
go?
no, it was all pictures, mate. I was prolific with pictures. I did have, before my first ex-wife burnt them all, um, 30, 40 photo albums filled with photographs of my trips and life and everything away. I still have those pictures, a lot of those pictures burnt in my mind, which is, so even after I lost them, I was still able to go, okay, yeah, no, I remember that. And I was just chasing down one of my old mates today. For mate, do you have that photograph of us standing outside that, like, $35 a week motel in Salt Lake City that we stayed at when we were 20 years of age, on our way through to California? And he's like, I don't think I've ever had that picture. I said, mate, when I was in Atlanta with you 3 weeks ago, I saw it on your phone. Send it to me so I can actually look at remember the name of the hotel for my next book, and the actual pricing of what the rooms were. But it was sort of like a $10 a night, $35 for the week type place. And let me tell you, it was every bit as rough as that sounds, even though this was 30 years ago. Like, there were, that scene in Big when he turns off the TV when he's in that little motel and you still hear the gunshots going on the back. That was it to a T.
Hmm.
That was it to a T.
Oh, Salt Lake.
And
Go figure.
yeah,
Well, then, are you working on a book right now?
yes. My title of my book, I'm 5 stories in. I'm a little bit slower this time because I've got a little more work on my plate. How to decide when to pee in your wetsuit when you swim from Alcatraz to San Francisco, and other lesser known travel tips.
Hmm.
Um, so they say I did the swim from Alcatraz to San Francisco when I was living in Los Angeles. One of those things that, again, I said, you know what, it's wasn't on my bucket list, but I want to do it. Just found out about the swim that you can do in Istanbul from one side of uh, across the waterway that separates Europe from Asia,
Mhm.
and my mate, the same mate, is the one in Atlanta that saved me the hotel. He was the one who told me about it, and he goes, "Oh, great!" And I just looked up, and I thought it would be like a kilometer. It's like 6 kilometers swimming, and I'm like, "Oh, you know." I'm getting old in life, but maybe this is one thing that if I put my mind to it, that yeah, good reason to go to Istanbul, do the swim, and then enjoy the city for uh, a week. That's a reason to go. Maybe I'll go and watch if I don't actually do it myself, but you just find a reason to go somewhere. It doesn't have to be much of a reason. I've traveled some places just on the dumbest reason imaginable, but I sit there and go, you know what? At least I'm here. Number of people that will sit there and go, oh, I wish I'd gone. I have so many. I work in the healthcare field. The number of people that I've seen dying in their hospital bed, going, "Oh, I wish I'd travelled more in my life." And I'm like, going, "Yep, yeah, that's the worst regrets to have when you die. Get it out of your system young. Keep on getting it out of your system for your whole life. Otherwise, you will end up on your deathbed going, I wish there was so much more that I'd done."
Yeah, I agree. Life is maybe it's with more experience, and that just happens to be with age. I mean, you could meet plenty of old fools, but it's life, I think, is more about collecting the experiences than collecting the things. And I'm not sure at what point most people make that distinction. Like when you're a kid, you think, well, I'd like to have that thing. I'd like to have that thing. I'd like to have that thing. And then when you are able to get those things, you start to realize maybe this isn't as cool as I thought it was. Maybe it's more of the experience than it is collecting all these things. It takes a while to figure it out. But after you do, it's pretty freeing to know that that's what you're going for rather than collecting stuff.
Yeah, I know the exact time in my life when that occurred for me. I
Okay.
was living in San Jose, and I was traveling therapist. So my next assignment was going to be in Alameda. It's about an hour's drive north. Was packing up my car, and I don't know how I could not fit a shoebox with a few important little items into the car without completely blocking out my rear view mirror. There was just no space. And I thought I was living pretty bare, but everything I owned in the world fitted into my car. But I could not fit the shoebox in. So I drove all the way up to Alameda, dropped stuff off at the new place, drove all the way back to San Jose, picked up this shoebox, drove back, and immediately threw out half the shit that I had.
Mm.
And I went, yeah, just why? Why? Just And so I do that all the time. I just go and say, yep, just clean house, just throw away all my shit, buy a couple of new things. Yeah, just you accumulate stuff, just get rid of it. Clean house, and oh, it's so liberating and so freeing when you do that. And that's how I will live until I die. I don't want to own anything.
Especially in the world of digital film, you're not going to use that up as readily as the 35 millimeter. If you have some things that you think you like, take some pictures of them, and then
Yep,
you can have that. I mean, that has its own weight. If you have 5,000 digital pictures, it's
yep,
not as
yep.
heavy as 5,000 regular, but it's still there. And then you can go on with life, remember those things if you need to. But yeah, the things you own definitely end up owning you.
Yeah, yeah. As I say, the friendships, the things I've added more, the friendships I've made, the experiences I've had, that um, you know, far more than any wealth that I may have had and then taken away from me in divorce or whatever. It is the connections with people and experience. That is again a theme in the books, I guess. Although you probably have to dig pretty deep to work that out, but I can say it. But yeah, it's like these 4 books, soon to be 5. I sit there and go, there's no one on the planet, that could sit there and say, wow, I haven't had a life like that. Yeah, you've got a big house, you whatever. I have none of that, but you know what? I could die tomorrow and I'd be happy. I'd go, yep, great. There's nothing else I want to do. I've got things I will do if I have time, but if I don't, I've done more than 99.999% of people will ever do on this planet, and I'm happy about that. More than happy. If people want to read about it, great. If they don't want to read about it, you know, same deal. Doesn't bother me. I've lived it. I'm happy that I did. It wasn't necessarily a thing to make money. It was just to sit there and say, wow, that is. And I tell you, I have plenty of friends who are far more successful than me that always go, damn, mate, damn, just I wish I could do it all over again. And so, yeah, no, that's what I've lived with fear every day of my life. I'm not going to get another chance. Go out there, you know, I'm not a risk taking person. Take a risk, quit your job, go and see what you want to see, go and do what you want to do. You're not going to have a chance to as much as you think you will. There's probably not going to get a chance to come back and do it later.
What's the best way for people to find your books?
They're on Amazon. I always tell people go to Amazon. Go to Google. Type Amazon, Simon Yeats, brothel, Thailand, and the first book should come up. And everyone goes, "What?" And I go, "Just listen to what I'm telling you. Just I shouldn't have to say this twice. Brothel, Thailand, Simon Yeats, Amazon, and the book should come up."
Thank you very much for your time. I know you have some constraints on what you got going on, but do you have anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't, or any thoughts you have for closing?
No, I thank you very much for inviting me on the show. Like I say, trust me, I write far better than I talk. Um, uh, and like I say, I think I'm pretty funny. You may not agree, but like I say, I take the piss out of myself because I'm the one who screwed up with all the stories. But as I say, the best thing about I can say about touring life is I've screwed up thousands of times, and it's been the best frigging experience of my life.
All right. I'll talk to you on the other side of this musical exit.
Cheers, mate.